Um, well, thank you for having me here. Uh, I was happy to join you last night with my wife Jody. And I think someone mentioned we'd been here, I think it was 4 years ago. And I have a prop back there. I told someone I had a prop. Excuse me, I'm just going to keep talking. But I do have a prop. It's one of my favorite things from the last time I was here. It was a little gift that you guys gave me, and I use it every single day. Now I have three of these. They're all different, but this one was the gift from you. And I'm not going to make you sing. I have my Woo Pig Suey cup. All right. Now I drink coffee out of this every day at home before I go to work. And then I wash it every single day when I get home from work. As opposed to my other two coffee cups, I have one at the lake. I wash it once a weekend. And I have one in my office that gets washed every year or so, whether it needs it or not. But there's my cup. So thank you. I cherish it. It doesn't go in the dishwasher. It's not dishwasher safe, so I have to wash it by hand every day, but it's still wearing off, but I appreciate it. So I'm here to talk to you about Alta, and you kind of heard a little bit about advocacy and some of the things that we've been doing on your behalf for our members, but I'll get into it a little more. So, and there. Oh, I think I missed something, but maybe not. This is going to be a real treat for you, Candy. Let me ask you here, does anyone here participate in a Alta committee? Candy does, great. How about, and Jeff does. How about, you're familiar with TAN? Anyone here a member of TAN? Some hands? All right. How about any TIPAC contributors? Anybody here? Great. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your contributions to Alta. And let's see. Okay. So every year, Jeff's new to the board, so he's just going to figure this out. In July, they fly us to DC, which is like the hottest, worst time ever to be in DC. And you're wearing a hot jacket and walking around outside. It's miserable. And then they stick you in a room. The board, there's 11 of us and some staff members, and we have to figure out what our goals are going to be for the coming year. You probably do something like that here with your own state association. So one of the things that we decided for this coming year, we want to champion the industry, because who's gonna stand up for us if we're not standing up for ourselves? And really, the work that we do in our communities and the work that we do just for the economic engine of this country is huge. It's a huge contributing factor because real estate drives everything. So we want to champion that. We also want to elevate title professionals and recognition in their communities as well for the work that we're doing. And then education and training and keeping our people following best practices and keeping up to speed. So that's very, very helpful for our members. FinCEN, we talked about that a little bit this morning when we were talking about the Advocacy Summit. How many of you had in the brief period of time when it was in place, how many of you had to deal with a FinCEN transaction? So about a third of you. Okay. And I guarantee you when this comes back, if it comes back, I'm sure it will, you'll all deal with it at one point or another. Alta's perspective is, we're not pro money laundering. We're not encouraging it. So we want to be a part of the solution, but it shouldn't be such a burden on us. It's odd to me if you've got people, you've got Bill Pulte at FHFA saying title insurance is too expensive, and then you've got the Treasury saying we need you to do this reporting for us. That's going to make title insurance more expensive because we're going to have to charge more to collect this information. So you got two sides of the government saying two different things. What Alta's pushing for is to just have some common sense restructuring of the FinCEN rule. So right now, there's no consideration, no minimum consideration. So for instance, if I have a family farm and I want to pass it on to the next generation, and the next generation forms an LLC to hold the farm as an LLC, and I'm just giving it to them, no consideration, we have to file all the FinCEN reports. Makes no sense. It's a close family transaction. It's not money laundering, right? Maybe if I was selling a $3 million condo in Miami, maybe that's a situation that needs to be looked at. If we could just have a minimum threshold of, say, $100,000, that would take away a good majority of these transactions that are considered reportable and really focus on the real fraud, because now we're just reporting transaction and the real fraud is going to get lost in the data. Another thing, if and when this rule comes out, we're also pushing that FinCEN give us time to implement the changes. So, we were all ready to go when it went into effect in March. Now it's been backburnered. Again, we don't want them to say, okay, starting tomorrow, because we've got to have time to start gathering this information. So we're just looking for a common sense approach going forward. So FinCEN has suspended the rule, and I don't know if any of you know Sylvia Flowers from Texas. She's an agent, just a regular agent like many of you in this. She sued FinCEN, and she won. That's why we don't have FinCEN right now. So you can thank Celia Flowers and Flowers Title for filing that lawsuit. Fidelity has also filed a lawsuit. They were not successful, but they have appealed. And so there's still some legal ramifications being sorted out. This is a survey that Alta's put out, and I would encourage you to go to Alta's website and complete this survey. If you have done a FinCEN transaction, just let Alta know where the pain points were. What was hard to get from your clients? What were clients saying? We won't give you that. This type of information is helpful when we're at advocacy or we're going to meet with regulators and legislators and saying, these are the pain points. We want to hear from you. Just more, for those of you that are reporting, who is doing the reporting themselves and who is using, is anyone using a third-party vendor to do it? And how about anyone doing it themselves? Okay, some people doing it themselves. For those doing it yourself, I want to give you a good example that a friend of mine gave at advocacy a year ago. So we were there and he was meeting with his congressman and he said, here's how FinCEN works. I have an office and I have 12 employees and I need every single one of those 12 employees. I cannot spare one. But FinCEN has criminal liability to it. So I now have to hire a 13th person, one that I can that's expendable and I can send to jail so I can keep my 12 good people. And that really resonated with the congressman. So I'm looking at you. You said you're doing it yourself. So, but there are options out there. Alta has prepared 25 pages of frequently asked questions to help you guide you through this process. And as a matter of fact, FinCEN just came out with some answers for us as well. So with this rule now temporarily on hold, they did come out and say there is no need to gather information on any transaction that is taking place today. So you won't have to go, and we won't have to go back in time. So if this goes back into effect next week, you won't have to collect for the last couple of months. It'll be a go-forward basis, which is good. How about in your real estate contracts? Do you see anything in your real estate contracts about FinCEN? I'm from Minnesota. We don't have it in ours. Candy, you're shaking your head. You have it in Missouri. So it may be something worth working with your realtors association to get it in there, because otherwise, your realtors really need to be your partners to let the people know ahead of time that they're going to be subject to this, so that they're not so angry at you for asking for this private information. The average 10% of all transactions will have some sort of FinCEN reporting. I find that kind of high, but I think that's a national average. So again, you're gonna run into these numbers. And here are the states most affected. And I can't really see it, but I think it's your states like California and more of the high-end places on the coasts. I think we're a little insulated in Minnesota and in Arkansas maybe, I don't know where Arkansas falls on the list. I can't see. Oh, I don't even see it. So, oh, it's pretty low. It's less than 5%, looks like. Housing affordability. I always struggle with this slide. First of all, because I did not look at these slides until I was on the plane to come here, so I struggle with all of them. But affordability, I mean, what is it that we as title agents can do to promote affordability in real estate? We certainly don't have any control over mortgage rates. We don't have any control over the pricing factors. But one of the costs that drives affordability these days is fraud. It's one of our biggest expenses, and it's a factor in real estate. So, and as we discussed earlier, it's the White House's top priority to get a bill passed. There was a bill passed in the Senate. There was a separate bill passed in the House. Your French Hill was very gracious in meeting with our entire group in DC, and he talked about the things in the House bill and the things in the Senate bill and the differences. One of the major things that we talked about, for those of you that do any, well, you talked about the tax credits earlier. So in a lot of situations in states where there are tax credits available, they go in and they do a big development of affordable housing, and they get tax credits. The Senate bill had something in there saying that any of these that are done after 7 years, those units need to be sold to an individual owner and can't be held by an institution. The House version did not like that, because if the people giving the grants for these transactions do not have that ability to amortize that over 20 years, the deals don't work. So that means affordable housing deals go away completely. So now they've reached a compromise between the Senate and the House, and it's going to move forward. This is the bill, I think, that you've probably heard the president talk about, where he wants to limit the number. He wants to limit, the Wall Street firms and these conglomerates from owning just huge tracts of homes, and puts limits on how many individual single-family homes can be owned by corporate investors. Okay, so this, I mentioned the hidden cost of fraud. How many of you see fraud attempts weekly? I mean, almost daily we see them in our operations. It's crazy. Any of you caught in like a deed fraud scam, anything like that? I can tell you firsthand. I'll share a story with you, and if I told it 4 years ago, hopefully you won't remember it. But so this did happen 4 years ago, because it was a week before we sold our company. And I was at my cabin on the lake, and my brother called me, and he said, do you have your laptop with you? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, do you know Barb and Bob Johnson? I forget their last name. Barb and Bob Johnson. I said, yeah, I do. He said, pull up your computer and look at this file. So I pulled it up and I looked. He said, now look at the IDs in the file. And there's color copies of their Minnesota driver's licenses. It says it's Barb and Bob Johnson, and it is not their faces. It's two completely different people. They're fraudulent driver's licenses. And my wife, if you met her last night, she's a real sweet woman. We've been married for 42 years. And the words that came out of her mouth when she saw those pictures were just foul, just foul. She said, you're screwed, but not that politely. And I was shocked. I mean, I've kissed that mouth before, And I started to have second thoughts. Now, tonight at the banquet, she's going to kill me for telling that story, because she always says, don't talk about me in the meeting. And then she gets mad when I say, my wife tells me not to talk about her in the meeting. So now I'm double cursed tonight. So I'm sorry. So fraud is a big deal. So we had this transaction. Someone listed a property for sale, vacant land, listed for sale, found a legitimate buyer. Legitimate buyer comes to our company. We closed it. sellers were out of state and out of state notary. The notary was forgery. It was all forgery. We ponied up. It was a $100,000 transaction. We paid the buyer their money back. We got a deed from the proper people to clear things up. But that was a week before we sold our company. If that would have come forth just a week later, maybe we would have saved ourselves $100,000. Anyway, this does affect affordability. Fraud does. It drives up the cost of real estate. I got the privilege when we were at Advocacy Summit in DC last week, and or a couple weeks ago, and a group of us, I think Jeff was with, and we got to go to the Secret Service, which was really cool. Got to see the gun that was used to shoot Ronald Reagan, and the windshield of his car with a bullet still stuck in it. That was pretty cool. But we got to go down into their, I forget what they called it, but it was this dark room with a bunch of people on computers and big screen TVs up. What you'll find most fascinating is while all these people are, they're scanning networks and scanning communications, and there's Fox News over here and CNN over here. On 2 channels, they had Let's Make a Deal. And I'm not kidding. Do you remember that, Jeff? So it's the game show, Let's Make a Deal. They're watching this while they're, protecting the president. I found that interesting. But fraud is one of the things that they really focus on. And they've been a big partner with Alta in working to stop fraud. And so you can see the top fraud categories, and business email compromise, that affects all of us. Tech and customer support, that can affect all of us. And then you've got data breaches, that affects all of us. There's some horror stories about that. But then look at the real estate, $275 million. And it's a lot. All right, unregulated title insurance. I like the term AOLs, attorney opinion letters, because who feels confident buying property with an opinion? Or would you rather have insurance? There's also other products, the title waiver program. Has anybody here done any closings for a company? Their name rhymes with United Wholesale Mortgage. Have you ever had them come to you and say, we want you to do this closing and there's not going to be title insurance, but we need you to sign this guaranteeing that you're going to protect us if there's any losses? It's very, very risky. I wouldn't recommend anyone do it, but I'm not, talk to your own attorneys. So this comes from FHFA. It started with President Biden, who found it necessary in the State of the Union, with everything going on in his world, to rip on title insurance and say that that's why housing is too expensive, because title insurance is too expensive. Well, we're just a minuscule percentage of the cost of a transaction. So this morning, Les talked about the Protecting America's Property Rights Act. And as he correctly stated, it's a bill that's been introduced in the House, bipartisan in the House, and it has been introduced in the Senate, and we're looking for bipartisan support there. And what it does is it's a bill that says any loan being purchased by the GSEs, so Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, must have a state license, be backed by a state licensed product. So an AOL, if the companies that are pushing AOLs in their wrappers, if they want to go to each individual state and get those approved, fine, then it's a level playing field. But right now, it's not a level playing field. The other thing that title insurance has is statutory reserves, which these other products do not have. So you've got Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae, who both, by the way, are still in receivership. They filed bankruptcy, and the federal government has taken control of them. They're talking about spinning them off as individual companies again, but they're not ready yet because they're not financially sound. Now they're willing to accept mortgages that don't have title insurance. So imagine if we go through a situation like 2007, 2008, and there's a huge foreclosure crisis, and Fannie and Freddie end up with a bunch of bad mortgages again, which is why they're in receivership still today from last time. If it happens again, who carries that burden? It's not going to be the title insurance companies. It's going to be the taxpayers. It's going to be you and me. So the Treasury becomes ultimately responsible. And that's why it's important for us to push Protecting America's Property Rights Act. The attorney's opinion letters, like I said, their opinions, they don't really offer much coverage. There is a wrapper that they can buy. One of the major companies that was selling that wrapper has already filed bankruptcy. So I guess that's not going so well. One of the things that Alta has had to do, it hadn't done so well in the past and has started to be better at, is to gather data. Because when we're in DC and you're talking, when you go in, have anyone here ever met Bill Pulte at FHFA? Just my opinion. The guy's an asshole. He's tough to talk to. And I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone. He was not a polite man to me anyway. And now he's getting a promotion too. He's got 2 jobs now. But we need to, that was what Bill wanted from us, data. Show me the information. Show me that you're paying claims. Everyone always says title insurance doesn't pay claims. Show me that you're paying claims. Show me the importance that you do. So here's just a statistic that Alta did. Out of every dollar that a title agency collects, where is it spent? So 52 cents goes to employees. That employee money is staying in your communities. 13 cents office costs, tech and data, compliance. And I'm going to say tech and data and compliance, with all the fraud going on, those numbers are probably going up. 4 cents for losses and 8 cents for profits. I don't know how you can have 4 cents for losses and 8 cents for profits, but I don't know if that means it's only a 8 cent. I don't know what that means, but we do have to pay out losses. Here's another one showing claims, losses that we've paid out in claims and in refinances. Everyone says there's no risk in a refinance, but look at the fraud and forgery risk. The risk is huge in a refinance. It's free money to someone that can pull it off. Think of every transaction that you do, every title exam that you do within your office, and think about curative and how long it takes you, how much time you spend on curative actions. Now, that could be tracking down a payoff on a previous mortgage. That's curative. It could be tracking down the divorce decree for the people that are entitled. It could be tracking down the judgment creditor if there's a judgment that needs to be taken care of. So a 92% of all transactions, there's at least 2 actions that need to be done from a curative standpoint. Difficult files, 45 hours for 1 file. It's hard to make a profit on that. So these are the where our time is most spent. So you can see obtaining the previous mortgage release is the big one. Probate documents come down here on the bottom. Gathering standard information. Alta is really good about having a lot of information on one slide, like this. Economic contribution you make. One thing that I like to say is that's important about this industry is like my kids. My kids, they couldn't wait till it was bring your parent to school day and for career day, because they couldn't wait for everyone in their class to hear about this exciting job that their dad has as a title professional. And I remember after I did that, I inspired so many young kids to want to become title professionals that when they had career day in high school and when the colleges came out and they had the college fairs, they were going around and trying to figure out which college offered the best title background, how they could get their title training. Well, it doesn't exist, right? But all of us here are thriving in this industry because we got an opportunity to get in the door and we were trained and we were taught. It's an industry that's predominantly women. The lack of a college education is very common. I don't have a college education. And it pays fairly well. So the economic contribution that we have in our own communities is huge. Here's some of the numbers up here, wages and benefits, and what we provide to gross domestic product and that sort of thing. But I just want you to think about it in that sense, how it is a job. I hate to say it's a job that anyone can do, because that's not true. But it's a job. I've got executive closer. I have got an executive closer that was, I hired her previous job. She worked the drive-through at a Hardee's restaurant. And now she's an executive closer. Now, it didn't happen overnight. It's been 25 years, but she's put her kids through college. Her kids are now, her daughter's getting her doctorate. I mean, this is a person with a high school education and working at Hardee's, and now she's making an economic contribution. That's what this industry does. This is another slide that I like to point out, and people don't think about this. Even I like to use this if we have a Capitol Day in Minnesota. I don't know if you have go to the Capitol in Little Rock or anything like that, where your members go there. But to sit down with a representative or a senator and point out to them that who's collecting the state tax liens in the state of Arkansas for you? Who's collecting federal tax liens for the federal government? Who's collecting the local real estate taxes? Who's collecting the back child support that's owed? Who's making sure the spouse is getting their payment when the property is sold? That's what we do. And we do that part for free, right? We're collecting this money and doing it for free. We're one of the largest real estate or largest collectors of real estate taxes that there are. I mean, between mortgage companies who escrow for it and us who collect it at closing, that's where it's done. So helping you run your business. Is anyone here familiar with Alta's best practices? These are practices. Oh, wrong slide. Told you, I looked at it on the plane. Series 49 endorsements. Anyone familiar with Series 49 endorsements? Okay, a few handfuls. Does anyone here issue expanded coverage, the homeowners policies versus a owner's policy? So an owner's policy has no future fraud protection. A homeowner's policy has that for forgery in the future. What's that? Enhanced, yeah. So the enhanced policy has the protection in these Series 49 endorsements included in it. And that covers forgery and fraud that affects your real estate in the future. So you're in your house and then someone forges your name and signs a mortgage, and now there's a mortgage against your property. Your title insurance, your expanded coverage homeowner's policy will cover you for that. If you have a standard owner's policy, it will not. So this is an opportunity to sell this endorsement that will give people who only have the basic coverage, it will give them that forgery coverage. This is something that was not an issue, 20 years ago, until all of this forgery starts coming forward. So Alta's created this new endorsement, and you'd have to check with your underwriters what it costs. I just checked because someone was interested in getting it from us. $250 was the quote that I was given by one of my underwriters in Minnesota. I don't know what the cost is here, but it gives you an opportunity to go back in time and visit past customers that didn't have the opportunity to get the enhanced coverage, to go back and sell them something additional. And it's not necessarily for making money, but it's to keep you in touch with that, and you're doing good for those people. So it's just a good thing to have for you. Also, they revised a couple of the other ones, but nothing too major. I mentioned best practices, so they've been modified again to regarding identity verification, improvements there, and how do you vet your vendors? So that's another issue. If you got an IT person that comes in and from offsite and is working on your network, how do you know that they're safe? New survey standards. I won't speak to those. I don't know, Stacy, you were talking about surveys. Anything creative there that you're aware of?
Change my step that is have a survey is already come back to you as bill under the new standards that was just adopted. The surveyor wants an updated title of commitment. But there is no title insurance being issued at that.
Right.
So typically you can get conditional commitment, but what you could do is use it as an opportunity to sell an endorsement to the lender. They need to get a commitment to endorse, and that way it gives the surveyor what they want, which is basically an update.
So in order to do an update to the survey, you can offer your lender an endorsement that will give you the ability to give a new commitment to the surveyor. Yep. All right. Thank you. Marketing resources. Alta has all kinds of great marketing resources on their website. If you're a member, they're free. You can personalize all of these. You can put your own logo on there. You can have them printed for you. You can print them yourself. You can modify them. You can do whatever you want with them, basically. But it's a good starting spot if you don't have a big marketing budget. Alta's got a lot of things that you can use. Multilingual is helpful in a lot of markets. I know that they do offer Spanish, which comes in handy for our offices, but they don't offer Hmong or Somali, which are the other two predominant languages in my marketplace. So Alta has a new internship that they're offering. It's a training process. They started it a couple years ago, and they're refining it. But it's a good way if you have a young up-and-comer in your business and want to enroll them in this program. It's just a great training. They're assigned a mentor and trained in all aspects of the industry. It's a real great opportunity to train people that you feel could really use it within your operations. Here's a legislative tracker that Alta has. If you're like me, I get an update from them twice a week. I get it, I think, Mondays and Wednesdays, and it gives you every state and every bill that's being considered in that state. I typically focus on Minnesota, but I like to look at what's happening in Wisconsin and the Dakotas and the states around me. So you can just go to Alta's website too and click, there's an interactive map. You can go there, click on Arkansas, and it's a good way to, I've sometimes found that Alta's tracking things that we're not tracking in our state and vice versa. So it's just a good double check. TAN, I asked if many people here were members of TAN, and TAN is the Title Action Network, and it's a grassroots effort, and it's free. The way that it works is if you register to become a member of TAN, and I would encourage you to do so, and you can scan right there and you can join. You don't have to be a member of Alta. You're just a title industry professional, and you're concerned about the title industry. You join TAN, you will have to give your home address. The reason they want your home address is to know your congressional district. And then from there, if there is an issue affecting the title industry that needs action, TAN sends out a TAN alert. And you'll get an email in your inbox, and it will say, this is the issue. The Protecting America's Property Rights Act is about to be up for a vote. Encourage your congressperson or your senators to vote in favor of this. It comes with a pre-populated letter emailed to your elected officials. You can personalize it if you want it, or you can just hit send, and it goes right to your senator or your congressperson and says, I'm a title professional. These are my concerns. This is a free way to get involved in Alta that makes a huge impact. The other benefit of this is in Arkansas, if you wanted to utilize TAN for a local issue, you've got something that you want to reach out to your members, and maybe more so, because what we've done it in Minnesota. We had an issue that we were trying to reach as many title people. Well, unfortunately, we'd like to say that every title professional in Minnesota is a member of the MLTA, but it's not a fact. But there are members of TAN in Minnesota that we're able to reach. So we send out a TAN alert, that it gets not just our members, but it gets TAN members and says, this is the issue in Minnesota, please do this. Very helpful. It's free. You can just text TAN at 52886, and it's a good gateway drug into get involved at Alta. And you're not going to get your inbox filled up with anything. Maybe 3 times a year you'll get a TAN alert. And here's a little fun fact, a little fun thing that we're doing. I saw the men versus women local PAC competition that's going on. Well, maybe you could up it one. What we're doing with Minnesota and Wisconsin is having a competition to see who can get the most TAN members, and it's called TAN for TAN. So our TAN rep in Minnesota and the TAN rep in Wisconsin, whoever gets more TAN members this year, the other one has to get a spray tan. So consider that for your PAC. Do spray tans. See how much money you could raise. Political engagement, well, we talked about French Hill. So there are 54 TAN members out of 5,210 title professionals in the state. So that's a very low percentage. I'd like to see that. If every one of you joined here today, we'd have 3 times as many. We've got 2 members contributing to TIPAC. And Mr. McAvoy, would you like to speak a little bit about TIPAC? He's our national trustee, and he happens to be here from Memphis this morning.
Or an R. I don't care if you're a D or an R. What TIPAC is concerned about is L, your livelihood. And I think that's what you should be concerned with too, your livelihood and how you're going to basically get your issues taken care of. There's lots of issues. I know you guys talk about it as the state, the Fed, everything is going to affect your business and your livelihood. And I am here to, during this today and tonight, and love to chat with folks about advocacy and about the PACs and any kind of governmental issues. It's my, I love it. I love everything about Alta. As I was telling Richard beforehand, I just got done speaking at Iowa earlier this week at their state convention. And I can go through the litany of all the different things that we've addressed in our industry in the last 30 years. And every time I came upon a challenge, I can tell you that Alta or the members or the friends were able to basically either prevent me from having trouble or being able to find a way of getting out of trouble in that regard as to whether it was some sort of hurdle that we had to jump into. I mean, I can't tell you, when we had the different legislation that have come in and how we address those things. DEET, fraud. I've seen folks that have been hit by myself, got done by CloudStar. And CloudStar just, because CloudStar meant they just basically took over all of our data in the cloud, and we got locked out of it. But unfortunately, I didn't have to report that because some of the Alta members that I was dealing with said, "Man, you need to have it locked in the vault in CloudStar." So I was about the only one that escaped it, because I listened to some of the friends and people that I was involved with Alta. It's not that I don't have all the answers, and I don't think everyone here has all the answers, but I'll tell you one thing, there are a lot of brilliant and good people that are going to help you through this. And the more that you work with Alta, it's going to be, you're going to love it. Love it.
Thanks,
you
Jeff.
very, very much.
Okay, this is the guilting / shaming slide that I like so much in half of the states that I go to. Because as you can see, $450 was given to TIPAC from the state of Arkansas, yet $16,000 was paid from Alta to to reps in Arkansas. So you're getting a good return on your money, but I would encourage you to step up that amount. I know your state PAC is very important as well. It's a balancing act in every state. The Good Deeds Foundation, this is kind of fun. This is one of the more fun things I get to do at Alta, besides hanging out with Jeff sometimes, is the Good Deeds Foundation is a nonprofit that was started by Alta. I also sit on that board, and we have raised over $1 million so far, and we give out grants. So if anyone here or any of your members are involved in a nonprofit in your local community, it might be Habitat for Humanity. It might be the local food shelf. It might be a local homeless shelter. It could be the Boys and Girls Club. Whatever it is, if you're very engaged and very passionate about it, you can apply for a grant with Alta Good Deeds twice a year. And we give out, we review about 80 grants every round and probably give out 20 or 25 grants for $6,000 a piece. And those go back to your local communities. It's just a way of giving back, but you can also donate to TIPAC, and then those dollars are used to give back to the local communities. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty fun to call someone, in a state that, maybe Missouri, or I'll call down to Arizona and tell someone, hey, that thing that you're really involved in, here's $6,000. It can blow their minds. Sometimes their annual budget is $3,000. And so it really makes their day. It's very, very heartwarming to do that. We do try to focus on housing issues, but that's not the only criteria. So we give to a lot of food shelves and youth crisis things, all kinds of things. We also try to, when we're in a city, we give to a local charity there as well. So for instance, coming up here, I'd like to remind you all that October is going to be Alta One in Scottsdale. And what's going to be unique this year is the entire hotel is booked by Alta. So there won't be, two conventions happening at the same time, or, a wild party going in a different wing. Well, that's probably First American having their party over in the wild wing. But I would encourage you, if you can go, it's a great way to meet a lot of other title people from around the country, make good friends. It really is, it's useful in your own business to meet people in other markets, to be able to call them and ask for their advice, or maybe you just need to refer a deal. It's very helpful. So Alta One, if you can make it. Advocacy, we talked about earlier, it was just a couple of weeks ago. That is fantastic. 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're out Wednesday night and spend 2 days prepping and 1 day on the Hill. Wear comfortable shoes. That's a great event. And if you'd like to join Alta, and thank you. Appreciate it.